cold as a razor blade, as tight as a tourniquet, like the skin on a dying man.
I don't want a piece of the world. I want the whole world.
I make my own rules because it's much easier that way.
Trust me.
What's up, everybody? It's Marcus D'Angelo, and we are back for another episode of the Snake Pit, except this week I am flying solo. Jake is on the road. He is out traveling, as he very often is. As a matter of fact, this weekend he's going to be at WrestleCon. I will be there with him. So if you're going to be in Cleveland for SummerSlam, make sure you come by and say hey to us. But because Jake is busy traveling, we were unable to coordinate our schedules. And so with that being the case, we've got to dip into the archives for a look back into the past, and this is a really fun one. We're taking a look back at Jake's history with Rick Martel, one of the greatest rivalries of Jake's career. We covered it last year, and it took us 2 episodes to cover the whole thing, and now we've come here today for one really fun, comprehensive look back at that rivalry. I hope you guys enjoy it, and I hope you'll tune in next week right here on the Snake Pit when Jake and I come back talking about the story behind his time in Calgary to wrap it up, talking about Harley Race, his ladder match, one of the first ladder matches ever in professional wrestling, Jake's departure from the territory, and so much more. We'll see you guys next week, but in the meantime, enjoy this look back at Jake's rivalry with the model, Rick Martel. Your long-term feud with Bad News Brown comes to an end when Brown leaves the WWF following your match with him at SummerSlam. Allegedly, Vince had promised Brown that he'd make him the first African-American WWF champion, and when Vince failed to live up to that expectation, Brown abruptly quit. So we'll talk about your rivalry with Bad News Brown in long form someday, but for right now, I'd just like to hear your thoughts on working with him.
Working with him was a dream, man. He was real simple to work with. He let me guide the whole thing, and he was right there for it. But see, I've always prided myself on being the guy that made myself available to the other guy. And I was taught very early on, never expose your opponent's weakness. Well, Brown's weakness was getting up and down. He had real bad knees. So if you knock him down, he was like a bug on his back. He had a hard time getting back to his feet. So I just didn't knock him down.
So you kind of treated him, I guess, the same way that you would have treated Andre, right?
Right, exactly. So I just kept him on his feet doing what he does, which is kick ass. But, I'd heard all these horror stories about him, man, and he was absolutely fabulous with me, so I don't know.
I had heard kind of the same thing, but yeah, Bret Hart dispelled a lot of that in his book as well, saying that no, like he was a great guy, easy to work with. Now I know you were working with him an awful lot at this time. Did he ever mention any of this WWF champion business or complain to you about Vince?
Yeah, he talked to me about it briefly.
Yeah. So he was told by Vince then that he'd become the champion?
Well, he was told by Vince he'd have a long run with the belt, so.
Aha, okay.
Here you go.
Man, it's one of those what could have been things, because yeah, I mean, he was a talented guy. Great look, cool performer.
It's hard to believe Vince said something and didn't do it.
Yeah, geez, I've never heard of that happening before.
Yeah, that's a first.
Well, Jake, the rivalry with Brown is kind of incomplete, but it does lead to perhaps the most memorable rivalry in your career with Rick Martel. It kicks off on the Brother Love show, and that will be our first clip this week.
He's slamming, and I know he stinks because he's sinking through that bag right there, right now. He stinks.
Martel, look what he's doing. He's spraying up stinks in here, my man. He's putting
He's just making sure that the Brother Love show don't stink. Now, hey, don't you worry about the model none, because he's just out here making sure, hey, you're on my show, you do as I say.
The only thing that stinks out here is attitude, my man. And you know what kind of attitude I am. I am a man that's always been a hired gun for his own stable. I am what Cain was to Abel. So you don't play no stinking games with me.
Well, I'm not here to play any games, and I don't even think that she really knows
He's up to
anything
something.
about love.
I really don't care much about love, brother.
He's gonna do it again.
So don't be pulling this.
Oh, he got it right in the eye! He got it right in the eye! Somebody get down there! Martel sprayed him right in the eyes with arrogance. He sprayed him right in the eye. I saw it. He's hurt. I don't know if it was intentional or not, but what do you mean you don't know? Of course it was. Boss man, who's scheduled up next coming out. Jake is riding him. Look at this. And he got him square in the eyes with it. Full force, right in the eyes.
Woo, man, iconic stuff, Jake. Right off the bat, I've got to ask, who came up with the idea for you to be blinded by Martel?
Vince came up with the idea to be blinded by it, but I threw an extra little pinch in there. I told him, let's make it look like an accident. That way Martel can say it's an accident, it's an accident, it's an accident, when the whole time everybody knows it was on purpose. Which makes him a better liar. Or a bigger.
Absolutely. And what was cool following this was, he would give like these apologies in promos, and he'd have this smile on his face the whole time. Man, he was just so good at playing the antagonistic heel.
Oh yeah, absolutely. That was the whole idea. From my viewpoint, that was it. And it freaking worked, man.
It was awesome and certainly worked. And yeah, I mean, this is one of those things that all these years later, fans are still talking about it. And really, it gets pointed to a lot as like kind of one of the biggest moments or most memorable moments or times in your career. Would you agree with that?
Yeah, it's one of them.
Certainly you've had a lot, but yeah, this one stands out for a lot of people, and a big reason is what's to come with the whole contact lenses thing, which we're gonna get into. But before we do, I wanted to ask you, Jake, this early on, was the plan in place for a blindfold match at WrestleMania, or did that come down the road?
It came down the road as far as I know.
Oh, okay. Well, let's talk about Martel for a moment. By this time, he'd already had a 17-year career after having started in wrestling when he was just a teenager. He'd been AWA champion, enjoyed a lot of success with Tito Santana and Strikeforce, and now he was onto the gimmick that he'd be best known for here as the model. Had you crossed paths with Martel before the WWF?
No, I had never crossed paths, man, and I regret that because, man, he is certainly a dream to work with and a real gentleman.
Yeah, such a great performer and very, very well respected among all of his peers. And yeah, just gosh, what a worker. I did want to mention too, Jake, and not only did Bad News Brown leave it around this time, but also your old nemesis Rick Rude would depart from the company, allegedly due to what he felt was a weak SummerSlam payoff and some issues with Vince stemming back to missing a few weeks of shows with the Warrior due to an injury. Also, Akeem, the African Dream, has left the company at this time, citing road fatigue. And it's rumored that Bobby Heenan and yourself are negotiating with Jim Herd. We've actually got this from the 10/29/1990 edition of the Observer.
Yeah.
As for Roberts, his asking price said to be $500,000 per year, but you have to take that figure with a grain of salt. Was considered by the NWA to be totally out of line. First off, let me say that's bullshit. If Jim Herd if he was able to get you for $500,000 a year,
I'd still be there.
Yeah, and man, what a hell of a bargain he'd be getting you at, though. He was paying guys like Lex Luger 6 or 7. I believe Flair is in that range, and man, your stock was way up, so it would be a hell of a get for him in WCW at that time. But let's start here. Was there any truth to any of the negotiations?
No, none at all.
So you hadn't negotiated with Herd at all?
I never talked to Jim Herd.
Okay. Well, let me ask, all these people are kind of departing and citing the road fatigue. I know that a lot of talents were saying they wanted to go to WCW just because of the simple fact that it was constant on the road with WWF, and WCW is a little bit more mild as far as the schedule is concerned. Did you ever I mean it's probably a silly question just because of the crazy success that you were having, but did you ever consider like, hey, maybe I can kind of check it out at least?
No, I never thought about doing that. Not at all.
Oh, okay. And, like, is there any reason why, that hadn't occurred to you, or you were just happy?
I guess I was just stupid.
Well, I mean, like I said, it's, yes, road fatigue, there's a lot to it, but man, you were enjoying insane levels of success, so it would be hard to leave that behind, especially on the biggest stage in wrestling.
Absolutely. When you're in the number one spot, number one place, man, you don't want to drop down a notch just because you're a little tired. I was a lot of tired, but I wasn't tired enough to give it up.
No, and, like, the potential as far as payoffs and whatnot was concerned, I mean, it trumps anything that WCW is gonna do, unless that 500K a year was coming through, holy smokes.
Yeah, yeah, exactly.
Well, yourself and Heenan would stay, but a lot of talents are moving on. Was this pretty par for the course during this era? Would you say that there was a lot of frustration behind the scenes at this time?
A lot of frustration behind the scenes, man. Because there wasn't anybody making 500K where we were at, except for Savage and Hogan.
Yeah, I mean that seems like pretty big money for the era. I know that even years later, guys like Scott Hall and Kevin Nash would say like, you kind of max out at about 400 grand a year. So I would imagine it would get a little bit frustrating seeing guys like Hogan and Savage kind of get these monster payoffs where you're like, hey, wait a minute, I've kind of plateaued,
What
right?
about what about me? Yeah, remember saying that a few times.
Well, Jake, in the weeks leading to Survivor Series, the angle sold to unbelievable perfection. We start out a week after you're sprayed in the eyes with an update at the doctor's office where it's revealed that you've been blinded. The following week's fans actually got to see your eyes and the damage that was done by the Arrogance spray. And that is going to be our second clip of the week. And man, it is a fun one.
Jake, I'm going to level with you. Do not expect too much.
This is it, isn't it, man? This is where I find out the real answer.
No matter what your vision, Jake, it should improve somewhat over time.
Don't you dare lie to me.
Okay? I'm going to remove the dressing.
Go ahead, man. I just want to see you to see. That's all I want. And you told me that I'd be able to see, didn't you?
Okay, Jake. Now,
Didn't you tell me?
we'll be light sensitive, Jake. I want
That's
you...
right.
Open your right eye for me, Jake. No matter what you see, it will improve somewhat over time, Jake. Open, that's it. That's it. I know it hurts. It's very light sensitive.
Right.
Open your eye for me, Jake. You a little bit more. Now, it's the light sensitivity will cause you great pain, Jake. I'll prescribe you some dark glasses. It should help ease that pain. But you must open your eyes now, Jake. No matter what you see, it should improve.
That's what I see.
time.
I can't see anything,
don't know how
man.
much, Jake, but you must open your eyes
It's
to
just a
determine how
cloud.
much
It's very
you can
cloud. I
see.
can't even see my hands in front of me. You told me I'd be able to see something.
Open your eyes, Jake.
It's real cloudy, man. It's just real. God, why me? Why does this have to happen to me?
Whew. So look, I was about 6 years old when that happened, but I remember it very, very distinctly because it's such a scary visual. Jake, what can you tell us about this whole thing?
Well, that was my idea.
The contact lenses.
Yeah, I went and got the contact lenses and said, let's do this. Yeah.
So let me ask, like how was the whole process? Like I mean, tough.
It sucked.
So so why? What can you tell us about what those contacts?
Hurt putting them in and hurt taking them out. And then once you put them in, you couldn't see shit. Fuck.
So do you like have regrets that you kind of pitched this idea, or?
I beat the hell out of myself walking. I'd walk into shit. I'd get tripped. Oh, yeah. But I kind of turned that around on some guys, man. I'd be around people and we'd have to, kayfabe, walk blind. And I'd walk and I'd intentionally walk over something and fall, and they're like, God damn it, man, I told you not to let me walk into things. Why are you doing this to me? Why?
and so, and
Don't be an asshole. Hey, this Jake Roberts, man, he's blind, he can't see. And they would give shit, man.
It is too funny, man. Especially the fans kind of giving like the real reactions, like, "Hey, come on, he's blind."
Oh yeah. God damn, you're an asshole. We hate you, man.
Well, Jake, I have to say too, the acting alongside that stunning visual, it was great. I mean, had you ever taken any acting classes or anything?
No, none at all, man.
What were you doing to kind of get yourself ready or in that headspace?
I played it in my mind, man, and it just seemed like in my mind that's the type of shit that would happen. So, you put it in your head what you got to do and why you're going to do it. And then you just kind of, it's like a movie you play in your mind. How you going to play this? I just went for it.
Well, let me tell you, it came off very, very realistic, unbelievably memorable. Yeah. All the acting throughout this whole thing is great. We've got another clip that I'm going to be showing here shortly, and we'll see more of your great acting skills and the ability to kind of sell being blind. Now, I know that you said that the contact lenses did obscure your vision to a degree, but man, the way that you're playing blind here coming up on the clip that I've got is just absolutely incredible. Great acting. I did want to ask, was anyone giving you notes as far as how to approach all this, or is it all just improv?
It's all me, man.
So no agents were chiming in like, "Hey, Jake, what if we try this?" Or...
Fuck no. If any agent told me to do something, I would do right the opposite.
Well, yeah, so I think that brings up a pretty good point. Who were the agents at this time? Was Bruce Pritchard kind of directing creative?
Fuck no.
No?
No. The agents at the time were Chief Jay Strongbow and guys like that, man. Jesus Christ. Who's going to listen to that shit? Earl Hebner, referee. See who else? Oh, Blackjack Mulligan. Oh, Blackjack Lanza. Yeah. Oh, and George Steele. Yeah.
George Steele was an agent at this time.
Yeah.
No way. So you had spent some time working with him in the ring. What was it like working with him as an agent?
He just let me do whatever I wanted to.
Probably the right move, especially given the fact that you're turning in some of these incredible performances. And speaking of incredible performances, Jake, the following week you'd be back in front of a live television audience for the return of for your return at the Brother Love show. And this is a moment that a lot of fans really love because you got a little retribution on Brother Love, and we've got the clip right now.
I tell you what, Brother Snake, I'm gonna take my glasses off. So why don't you go on ahead and take your glasses off? Let's call it even.
I can't take these glasses off. The lights burn my eyes, and you better knock the crap off real quick.
Oh, I see. Well, that's why Brother Model brought a gift out here for you, Brother Snake. And here, I'm going to give it to you. Put it in your hand right there, you see. It's a CNI cane, brother.
Oh, whoa! Oh, he missed him. Unfortunately.
Now you just wait just a minute. You just wait just a minute now.
You better wait. Martel, you may have taken the one thing that every man needs to see a child grow. And you may have taken the one thing that a man needs to see the beauty of life. But I promise you, if you will lead me the way, if you will show me the spot, whether it's in the back, whether it's outside, whether it's in front of these people, Brother, remember this. An eye for an eye.
Jake the Snake Roberts challenging Rick. Wait a minute, Martel's coming back.
Want me? Here I am. Hey, can't you see what you look like? Jake.
Over here!
How many fingers am I holding?
Why don't you show how many fingers? Oh, no! That rock! I can't believe that! Wait a minute, Jake!
Yes! 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 Whoa! Look at this!
Whew. Man, that crowd reaction, Jake, that was something.
Yeah, buddy. They made a little noise, didn't they?
It certainly did. And yeah, again, it's one of those things that these fans just bring up all these years later. I mean, Bruce was just a great antagonistic heel as Brother Love, and fans always wanted to see one of the guys get their hands on him, and here you are nailing him. He kind of played the perfect foil for this whole thing, didn't he?
Oh, yeah. He did a great job.
What are your overall thoughts on Bruce's? Well, how about behind the scenes versus as a performer? Where do you think his strength is?
Behind the scenes is probably his best thing, man. He's very good at doing his job, and it's a tough job. You don't make a lot of friends being that guy.
That is very, very true. I know that it can certainly be frustrating at times. And Bruce, also to that point, he started very young. You know, when he came in to the WWE, and I believe it was 87, I think he was only 26 years old. So even here, he's probably under 30 or maybe just at 30. You had first started hanging around Bruce probably in Mid-South, right?
Right. He was down in Houston.
Oh, okay. What can you tell us anything about early experiences around him?
Down in Houston, he was part of the announcement team and part of the guys that got it all going for, oh gosh, I forgot the guy's name now.
Paul Bosch?
Paul Bosch, yeah. He was Paul Bosch's right-hand man.
Now, rumor has it that Bruce is a young man. Again, you know, when you were around him in Houston or Mid-South, he would have been, you know, early to mid-20s. Rumor has it that he was a party guy. Did you ever get to party with him?
He didn't party with me. He partied with the other guys, you know, like DiBiase or Gino Hernandez. Not me.
Oh, okay. Well, I was hoping for a Bruce party story, but maybe we'll have to ask DiBiase one of these days. I'm sure he's got some.
Yeah, he didn't party hard enough to roll with me.
Just a side note, who were your kind of running mates back in those days?
Me and Hacksaw.
I think Hacksaw could probably hang in there, right?
Yeah. He did a good job of it.
Well, you know, the nice part also here with this storyline, especially at this point, is that you're getting a little bit of retribution, which fans are dying to see, but you are not getting your hands on Martel.
Nope.
So I think that that's a really cool kind of calculated move. You and Rick are not getting much contact at all on TV on the way to Survivor Series, aside from some DQ wins for him, where you run in and attack him despite being blind. Was this a calculated move on the part of WWE?
Yeah, they wanted to get it ready.
Well, you guys are working together on house shows, and you're cutting some of these killer promos on the way there, where you're wearing sunglasses throughout the promos until the end, where you pull them off and kind of reveal that one white eye. Just masterful, fun stuff. You're coming up with all this, I assume?
Yeah.
Brilliant. What a fun angle. I mean, prior to this in your career, can you think of an angle before or after this that you could really sink your teeth into as much as this one? I mean, what a juicy angle.
It was, well, I just kind of borrowed stuff from, you know, back in the day, Mid-South, Junkyard Dog got blinded by the Freebirds.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so I just kind of borrowed everything they did.
I had never heard that before. So
Yeah.
he had been blinded by the Freebirds, and you know, you and I talked about it before an episode or two ago. You getting blinded by Dark Journey. I mean, so this has been kind of a through line in your career, huh?
I've been blinded several times. It looks like.
And I can't really think of a blinding angle that's happened since then. That's certainly none that are as significant. Have you seen
No,
one? Or no, I
no,
can't think of one either.
no.
Well, also you're working matches against enhancement talents wearing an eye patch, and one we referenced last week happens during this time with Tom Stone,
Yeah,
who he's taking advantage of your blind spot and getting the better of you until he pulls off your eye patch, which enrages you, and you beat him down until the ref calls the finish. So you just beat his ass until he couldn't pull you off, and it's a DQ finish.
yeah.
Man, it's cool because we're simultaneously getting to see some weakness from you as far as this blindness is concerned, but then we're also getting some kind of, at the time, uncharacteristic aggression from your character. Is anybody helping you to put this creative together?
No,
Or like
no.
this is completely you?
All me, bro.
Man, incredible. I mean, when it comes to coming up with creative like this for you, is this one I always hear from the guys, like I think about it while I'm on the road. I spend so much time in the car. That's when I come up with this stuff. Is that how it happened for you?
Absolutely, man. I get alone, I get in my hand, and I just play.
Now, I know that I've heard the guys in the clique talking about how, they would kind of bounce ideas off each other on the way from town to town. Was there anybody that you would travel with who you would be bouncing ideas off of?
Just myself.
You traveled alone?
A lot of the times I did.
Man, that had to be boring as hell at times to making those
Oh, it's
hard miles.
fun getting inside my head.
Well, Jake, I mentioned that you had been working with Martel on the house show loop
Yeah.
during this time. So this would have been some of your first matches with Martel then?
Yep.
So what did you think about working with him? Can you give us some detail on your thoughts on him and his ring skills?
His ring skills were polished, man. He was right there for everything. He just knew how to react. He was very good with my hands off of him. That's when you learn a great worker. It's when you're not touching him, how he reacts, how he handles himself in the ring.
That's interesting because you always kind of hear about these guys that are like, you consider guys being great when it comes to like chain wrestling and very, very kind of like hands-on type approach. But you're saying that you really kind of find out about a guy when you're not putting your hands on him.
That's right. That's when you know what they got. I mean,
So,
once you grab a hold of somebody, it's kind of mustard against mustard, But if you're out there by yourself, then you've got to react and have a match by yourself. See how well that goes.
yeah, you kind of see some of this stuff nowadays where like guys, I've seen it in Japan, they'll have like a blow up doll in the ring that they're working with.
Yeah.
Have you seen any of that shit?
No, not yet. Hope I don't.
Yeah, it's a weird time in wrestling, isn't it?
Yeah. I've wrestled the Invisible Man before, but not in front of a crowd.
Wait a minute. Wrestled the Invisible Man.
Yeah, he beat me 2 straight. He reversed the DDT on me and gave it to me.
I've heard about people doing that stuff. I think it was in Memphis where somebody had a match with the Invisible Man. Is that a shoot? Did you actually do a match like that?
Oh yeah, by myself. There was no people there.
Okay. So man, I would spend any amount of money to see some footage of you wrestling the Invisible Man back in the day.
Oh, but I don't want to wrestle him again. He's too tough.
Nobody can go over against you, Jake. Come on.
Dude, he'll fuck you up, man.
So, well, Jake, we arrive at Survivor Series. And before we talk about your match, I have to ask, this event is pretty infamous, Survivor Series 1990, because they've been teasing this giant egg, and
it laid an egg.
Out comes the gobbledygooker. Man, what is the reaction like backstage with that shit?
Oh my God, we all just were horrified. The gobbledygooker. What a fucking turd.
Rumor has it that I think The Undertaker debuts at this event, Survivor Series 1990, and rumor has it that he was supposed to come out of the egg. But do you think that would have just irreparably fucked up his character?
It would have probably killed his character.
I mean,
how can you take anybody serious if they pop out of a fucking egg? Come on.
hard to wrap your head around. And like, look, we were suspending our disbelief in the first place when it comes to like, okay, this character is dead. He's like a zombie. It might be a bridge too far if he's coming out of a fucking egg as well.
Yeah. Yeah, it would have been a little bit too much even for wrestling fans. That's saying a lot.
That is saying a lot. I did want to ask too. I said it. Undertaker's making his debut here at Survivor Series. Would this have been the first time you had been around Mark Calloway?
Yeah.
And what were your thoughts on the fact that okay, this guy's going to be playing a dead man?
Yeah, I thought it was a bit much, and the fact that he no-sold everything made it kind of hard to think about a match,
Yeah.
So, but time would show that it didn't matter.
Yeah, I guess everything worked out. And then, a couple years later, he's kind of no-showing for you. You're hitting him with a chair in the funeral parlor, and it sets up a pretty awesome match in what would be your final match in the WWF in 1992 at WrestleMania 8, which we will talk about at some point. All right, Jake, it's Survivor Series, and it's the Visionaries, comprised of Martel, Warlord, Hercules, and Paul Roma against the Vipers, which is yourself, the Rockers, and Jimmy Snuka. We've talked about Shawn Michaels before, but what about his tag team partner? Any memories of working with Marty Jannetty?
Marty was great, man. Are you kidding me? He was awesome in the ring. He did his job and then some,
Mm-hmm.
On a color. The only problem with Marty was his outside the ring, He just partied too hard, man.
I was going to ask about that because, kind of they had this sort of on and off again relationship. The Rockers, I mean, had this on and off again relationship with Vince and the WWF due to some of their wild partying. Did you ever party with those guys?
Nope.
You'd just been hearing stories about how wild the two of them could be.
I've been in some of the same places they had been, and I've watched them there. And I realized I didn't want to play that game.
You were talking about partying too hard in Mid-South for Bruce Pritchard, so these guys must have been going really hard.
They were doing outlandish shit, man. They were trouble. I never looked for trouble. These guys did. They created it.
And they would certainly find trouble. I know that Shawn Michaels would get himself into a few pinches here and there down the road. I know he got jumped by a bunch of Marines when he was partying at one point,
Yeah.
So... yeah, it's you find yourself in a predicament doing that shit.
Got his ass kicked.
Yes, he did. Before we get off the Rockers, I did want to ask. So, kind of the narrative out there is that whenever there's a tag team, it always gets divided into I think this is unfair. The Shawn Michaels of the tag team and the Marty Jannetty of the tag team. Whenever they become singles wrestlers. First of all, what do you think of that narrative? As far as like one guy's going to be a star, the other guy's going to be the Marty Jannetty of the group.
Well, Marty's was all because of his partying, man. But he was always in trouble. So that's unfair. Marty could have carried the stick just as well as Shawn did. That's just where I'm at.
I have to agree. And a lot of people say that Marty in ring was actually more talented than Shawn.
I believe he was.
It's hard to deny it, especially you see some of his work back in that era. Man, the guy could go.
He did all the right things, man. He was just a handful out of the ring.
What a shame. It's another one of those what could have beens, I think, in wrestling.
Yeah, absolutely.
Well, Jake, the match at Survivor Series was phenomenal, in my mind, largely because of the storytelling between yourself and Martel. So he continues to kind of play this game of keep away from you, and every time you would tag in, he's tagging out until finally you're the last survivor on your side. You DDT Warlord, and then when Martel tries to stop you, you chase him out of the arena with Damien and get counted out, and we've got the clip right now.
However, let's be realistic, Rod. I don't like his chances.
Nah, we're talking the guy's going to have to beat 4 guys by himself with no break.
Nobody to tag.
Nobody to tag. Nobody home.
Oh, big bear hug by the Warlord.
All by himself, lonesome in a bear hug with a gorilla. Come on, Jay.
He's not going to quit.
Well, at this point, I hate this. I hate to see the man get hurt, though. There becomes a point in which you maybe just want to see him get pinned so he don't get hurt anymore.
Well, you'll have to pin him because he's not going to quit.
No, he's too much.
Oh, look at this! DDT!
Yes!
He the big guy.
Yes!
Oh, look at Martel.
Did he get it?
No, Jake saw it coming. He turned his head, Hot Rod.
All right.
But the referee didn't see any of that action.
He's got a partner. He's got a partner.
Can you blame him?
Not a bit all.
Look at Martel, scared to death. And Jake right on his tail. Hobbling, limping, but still going after him.
Martel, you coward, you did the least in there. You're running.
Referee's counting. Warlord, of course, the legal man in the ring, and Jake the Snake.
9.
He's out. I don't think he was worried about being counted out, Hot Rod. He wanted a piece of Martel.
Jake the Snake Roberts has been counted out. Therefore, the winning survivors are the entire team of the Visionaries.
Wow, the entire team of the Visionaries have made it to the grand finale. Including the model, of course, the whole team. The first time in the history of the Survivor Series that an entire team has made it.
Man, just what a brilliant way to continue to dangle the carrot in front of the audience.
That's the whole thing. Not letting me get a hold of him.
So do you think that by Survivor Series, it was set in stone that you guys are going to be working at WrestleMania?
Oh yeah.
Well, it was brilliant. And just for frame of reference, the story is going to last all the way from October 1990 to late March 1991. So it's a legitimate 6-month story. And man, it's what can you tell us about kind of having patience when it comes to storytelling in professional wrestling?
Oh, it makes it so easy. Are you kidding me? I mean, the house show matches we were doing, we didn't have to hardly do anything, man. We just went out and played cat and mouse for a few minutes, and I'd finally get a hold of him, do a little something, then he'd run.
Man, it's just smart thinking and a good way to kind of prolong it, because I think that whenever you have these storylines in wrestling and it's like, okay, 1 month Jake is working with this guy, the next month he's with another guy, you just keep doing that. It's like, man, you're kind of screwing yourself as far as like having available options. There's only so many guys on the roster, and if you go month by month, you're just going to run through everybody.
Yeah, you will, man. 12 months, you've got 12 guys. There's not anybody left.
Right. You know, at least not anybody that's a viable opponent.
There's so much more to getting a hold of somebody. The anticipation of the act is the strongest part of this thing. It's sort of like, dating a girl and trying to get to home plate. If you get it the first day, you don't come back next week. You're looking for new.
That's exactly it. And that's kind of how you guys allowed this thing to play out. It's not something that we're likely to see nowadays in professional wrestling is a 6-month storyline.
Those days are gone.
Well, to start out 1991, you and Martel are swapping DQ victories on the house show loop. At one of these, Martel has you blinded when a young Dustin Rhodes comes out to help and you accidentally DDT him. So Dustin was teaming up with his dad at this time, feuding with DiBiase and Virgil. So I found it kind of weird that he would come out for this. Do you know why Dustin would have been involved in your angle with Martel?
I have no idea at all, man.
It's strange. And, and as I continue to read, I would see also the same thing happen with Sam Houston. And I want to say like Coco Beware or something. So it's like this weird, like kind of little influx of baby faces that you're just DDTing randomly.
They needed it.
I guess so. At this time,
especially Coco.
At this time, Dustin is only 21 years old. He's kind of still trying to find his way. He's mimicking his dad in many ways in the promos. But did you see the early potential in him to stand alone in wrestling?
Oh yeah, absolutely. No doubt about it. He had it, man. When we talk about the it factor, either you got it or you don't. You can't buy it, you can't steal it, you can't borrow it from anybody. It's charisma. And he had a natural charisma about him.
I think that's perfectly said. He did. And, a lot of people, you and I have talked about it. He got that gold dust gimmick and he ran with it. A lot of people, kind of criticized Vince for sticking with that gimmick. But really, it's what set him apart from his dad, because he was essentially just Dusty Part 2 in many respects, wasn't he?
No doubt. No doubt.
It's cool to watch him grow. Interesting to hear that you kind of had a little run-in with him on the house shows. It would be neat to see some footage of that.
That'd be nice.
Well, we've got this from the January 21st, 91 Observer. Jake Roberts wants to turn heel after the thing with Martel runs its course because Sly Snake sees that there is a lot more opportunity at present on that side. So Sly, meaning I assume he means that you're a smart businessman. Do you think maybe that's why they were running in some of these young baby faces to kind of test the waters?
I have no idea, man.
Really weird.
I didn't know that I was wanting to turn heel at the time.
Jeez, Meltzer's telling you something about yourself you didn't even know.
Damn.
That sounds a little fishy. I will say, though, at this point, the top baby faces were Warrior as the WWF champion, which he's about to lose at Royal Rumble to Slaughter. Yourself, Jim Duggan, Dusty, and Hogan, who's clearly being positioned for Slaughter. If you were eyeing it at this time, maybe. So are we saying that Meltzer's full of shit, or maybe you just don't remember one of his?
No, Meltzer's full of shit.
Okay, Meltzer's full of shit, so we can do away with that. You weren't eyeing any sort of a feud with Warrior, though?
No. God, no. That's the last person I was going to work with.
You'd find yourself bumping up against him a little bit later this year, which we're going to talk about this summer when it comes to some of those vignettes in the graveyard and whatnot.
Yeah, those are pretty good.
They are. They're fun. They're campy, but in the best way possible when it comes to wrestling.
Yeah.
So we do hear all the time that Vince refused to turn Hogan heel due in large part to his merchandise sales. And like I said, a little bit later on this year, you're going to be turning heel yourself. When an opportunity like that comes up where it's all of a sudden, a baby face to heel, it's not like it is today. They didn't have merch for the heels, at least not as much. No. Would that have given you any pause? I know that you prefer working heel.
No, it wouldn't have mattered the amount of money I'm making on merchandise. No.
So would you feel comfortable disclosing like a rough estimate of what kind of money you were pulling in with merchandise?
Not enough.
It's just weird because, we do hear all the time, like some of these guys were making these insane paychecks at the end of the month whenever it came to their merchandise sales. And Vince would give you this giant stack of invoices saying, here's exactly what sold and where and when. You would get those invoices?
Oh, yeah. My question was, who was putting in the numbers?
If everybody's getting those papers, then somebody is really, really crunching the numbers.
Yeah, they're crunching them all right.
Got to be some Howard Finkel shit.
More than likely.
Well, I mentioned that Warrior was about to lose his belt at the Rumble to Slaughter, who was doing his Iraqi sympathizer gimmick at the time and getting a ton of heat. Pretty unprecedented stuff to actually have a gimmick from an active war. What did you think about this angle with Slaughter?
Oh, it had to happen. I'm surprised that Slaughter went with it, but it had to happen.
I mean, you talk about merchandise sales. He was like the face of G.I. Joe. And now all of a sudden it's okay, let's bring that to a screeching halt. And he's going to side with a country that we're having a war with.
Yeah.
So Jake, if they had come to you and said, hey, we want you to do this stuff, would you have gone for it?
Sure.
It's a fun what if.
Sure.
Well, at the Rumble, you'd be eliminated by Martel, who had set a new longevity record with a time of 52 minutes, 17 seconds. Man, he was in incredible shape, wasn't he?
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
I mean, physically, being in the ring with Martel is how would you compare climbing into the ring with somebody like him versus some of the other people that you were working with at the time, like Rude or Warrior?
He was smooth.
Yeah.
Yeah, he was smooth. He knew where he was going. There wasn't any herky-jerky motions about it. He was just really smooth.
It shows. It shows on camera, and and some of it. We've got a couple clips this week, and you can see in them where he's just really polished. Always very good awareness on where he's at in the ring, and man, he can sell like nobody's business.
Yep, he does a great job with him. It was like driving a new Mercedes every time you got in the ring. It was easy driving.
Man, that's a hell of a compliment and well deserved. What an incredible performer. When would you say is the last time that you spoke to or saw Rick Martel?
Oh, probably 20 years.
That long?
Yeah.
He kind of got out of like all the way out of
He
wrestling.
got all the way out, brother.
Yeah, not even really like appearances very much either,
No,
right?
doesn't do appearances. He's got his own thing going, doing very well.
It's interesting for a dude like him too, because he grew up in wrestling. Like I mentioned on
Yeah.
our last episode, I think he was 17 when he started, and
Yeah.
then all of a sudden it's just like, okay, I'm done and walking away, and that's the end of it. I don't know. Can you picture ever stopping with the appearances?
No, I have too much fun with the fans.
Yeah, I mean, I've seen a lot of the interactions and photos and stuff, and it looks like you're always having a blast when you're out there with your
Yeah.
fans. It's just, I don't know, it's strange to me that he would just hard stop. He's out.
Yeah, he did it his way.
Hey, good for him, man. Not everybody gets that option. All right. So I have heard that in battle royals in general, people tend to be a little bit more dangerous due to all the chaos, and it's easy to catch an elbow from somebody or roll your ankle or something. What's your strategy going into the Royal Rumble, Jake?
Find a corner and hide. And that's what I would do too. You don't want to be out in the middle of that ring because somebody's going to fall into you. And that's when you get hurt. You'll get a knee blown out or something will happen bad. So stay out of the middle of the ring.
Now, did you learn that the hard way in Mid-South or something?
Oh, yeah. Yeah. I've caught elbows and been in the way when somebody went to slam somebody and get a boot upside the head from a guy being slammed. Oh, that's fun.
God almighty. Yeah, it sounds like chaos, and it looks like chaos just a normal Royal Rumble. And I think that you've mentioned on this podcast before that you were once in an all blindfold battle royal.
Yeah, the whole blindfold battle royal. It's pretty cool.
I mean, I think I'd just be in the fetal position in the corner waiting for it to come to
Oh
an
my
end.
God. Yeah, it's pretty crazy, man.
That sounds wild. Well, in the February 18th edition of The Observer, Meltzer notes for the first time that it will be a blindfold match between yourself and Martel at WrestleMania. Martel would even begin to put black hoods over the heads of his enhancement talents he's working with, and he'd pummel them to show everybody what you were in for. Man, couldn't be a better stipulation for this match. Do you remember who came up with the idea?
I believe Pat Patterson.
So I saw where along the way you and Martel would also on the house shows kind of compete in cage matches here and there.
Yeah.
Now, do you know if there was any consideration to make it a cage match at WrestleMania?
No, I don't.
Okay, well,
there's no need for it.
No. I mean, let me say they landed on the right gimmick match when it comes to the blindfold. I mean, it just works.
The blindfold match worked perfectly, and we worked it perfectly, and the rest is history, man.
Well, it's cool, and it's interesting too because you guys did work it perfectly. However, it looked like you guys were trying a few things along the way. Our first clip this week is a dark match at Wrestling Challenge in, I believe it was late January. And the live audience there got their first look at the two of you in a blindfold match. Again, it's a dark match, so there's no commentary. So I'm going to narrate the action a little bit for our listening audience. I'll post this entire 2-minute video on our social media, which is at Snake Pit Pod on all platforms. And I encourage our listeners to go and check it out to see what we're talking about here. All right, Jake and Martel both hooded and kind of back to back, both reaching around trying to find one another. Oops, Martel found Jake. And he begins to pummel him. Martel getting the better of the exchange, and he's going to slam Jake. Ooh, tried to drop the elbow, but Jake is out of the way. Martel's selling is just phenomenal. He's selling frustrated really well. Jake is slowly pulling himself up, and Martel is kind of starting to complain. And he's pulling off his hood. Ref is trying to stop him. But Martel is, gosh, he's big as a house. And he's going to get that mask off. And now he's attacking Jake. Martel is no longer blindfolded, but Jake is. And Martel's tying him up in the ropes. And now Martel's going for his arrogant spray in the corner. He's going to spray Jake. I'm not sure how that's going to work with the hood, but let's just roll with it. And the ref is trying to pull the arrogance away from him. Martel's got his back to Jake, and Jake is slowly getting out of those ropes. He's reaching around. He's trying to find Martel. He found him. DDT. Martel drops the arrogance spray. But now here's the fun part. Jake is reaching around the ring. He can't find Martel. And he continues to build the anticipation of when the pin is going to happen. He can't find him. The audience is going nuts. And found him. Jake covers him 1, 2, 3. And there's a young and very happy child in the audience for that.
Martel's kid.
Man, that was fantastic. Really fun. And shout out to both AndMadPop54 and RCS88 on Twitter for sending that video to us. Totally different finish from what we saw at WrestleMania, but a pretty fun way to end the match.
Yeah. It was fun doing the can't find him thing. It was pretty awesome, man. Pointing, following the fans.
Yes. Yeah, it was cool. It's cool kind of watching the early seeds be planted and some of the ideas that you guys were trying out. You can see the fans just get whipped into a frenzy after you DDT Martel and can't find him. So it's just such a brilliant little piece of psychology to build a concern. Had you and Martel been doing blindfold matches on the house shows to get ready for this?
We did a couple.
Yeah?
Yeah. He wasn't Martel wasn't real confident about doing it. He thought it'd flop.
Really?
Yeah.
Did he ever say why?
He just didn't think it would work.
That's interesting. It's
Pat Patterson talked him into trying it.
Well, thank goodness he did, because we're going to talk about kind of what Meltzer had to say about the match and fans had to say about the match later. But in my mind, it's really not about the match. It's not about having a great wrestling match. It's about creating kind of a really cool, indelible moment. You guys did something that continually gets brought up all these years later.
It was a lot of fun.
So you are here exploring this other finish. Do you remember what made you land on the finish that you guys ultimately went to as opposed to this one?
I have no idea.
Well, we'll do some compare and contrast later on, because our second clip this week is going to be the WrestleMania finish. And looking back on it, do you kind of wish that you had gone this direction? That was a pretty cool finish.
It was a good finish, but so was the Mania finish. I mean, him getting the hood off was something they didn't really want to do. Because, why wouldn't you have taken it off earlier? If it was that easy to get off,
I think you make a good point, and to your point, I think you guys landed on the right finish. We've got an interesting bit of info from the March 4th Observer and a house show. Jake Roberts pinned Rick Martel with a DDT in 1347. Considering that his sister passed away earlier that morning, Martel put on a good performance. Still, they went 340 without even a lockup. Martel took the early edge with thumbs to the throat and held a chin lock until the 10-minute mark. Roberts took the buckles really hard. Jake made the comeback and hit the DDT to win. Roberts' psychology was great in that this match was mainly long rest holds and stalling, but as soon as the crowd would start to lose interest, he'd out of nowhere flip the bird or do something to get the crowd back. After he hit his move, he laid on the ground for a good 30 seconds before rolling over and getting the pin, building up the heat for the pin. So this post from the Observer really stuck out for me for a few reasons, Jake. First, Martel's sister passing away. It's devastating for anyone to experience, and hats off to him for staying the course and making his scheduled appearance despite the loss. Were you close with Rick?
Yeah, I was, but I remember that. It wasn't an easy time for him, It was real hard for him.
Yeah, I mean, I can't imagine, because it's his character. He's got to come out and be this over-the-top heel, and a big part of what he did was like giant gestures and big expressions, that kind of that smile that you wanted to wipe off his face, and he's coming out here and giving the audiences all, despite really having a hard time.
Yeah, when you get something emotional like that, there's another way of thinking about it too. You want something that will get your mind off of it for a few minutes, So I think maybe that might have been it. He just wanted to go ahead and have the match so he could quit thinking about his sister for a few minutes.
Yeah, maybe that was it. And again, kudos to him. You make this commitment whenever you're in this business, and he held to
Yeah.
his commitment despite a really difficult time.
Sure did.
On a lighter note, Jake, the other thing that stood out for me here was you flipping the middle finger. We all know that your psychology in the ring is second to none, but at this time, the idea of a babyface making an obscene gesture was completely unheard of.
I'm not a baby face, though.
So can you walk us through that mindset a little bit?
Oh, yeah. Well, they were wanting one thing, and I said no. And then I flipped them off to tell them I didn't give a fuck. I was going to do it my way because I knew where we were going. I'm not going to let the people boo me into getting up and doing something, not if it's not the right time. That's one of the things that pisses me off today. Guys go out and do extra moves just because the fans are quiet for a second. Let them be quiet. Maybe they're trying to get their breath, especially these days.
Yeah, I mean, with the fast-paced action, gosh, it's you look down at your phone for a second and you've missed some insane move or something. What is that? Is that the advice that you would give to young performers nowadays? Just slow down.
Absolutely. Let people sell. Let them sell, man. That's what gets you over. Your selling's what gets you over, not your damned high spots.
And so, you always hear, at least I know that this was kind of like the old Memphis mantra, is that, baby faces should be the primary sellers in the ring. So as a heel, what advice would you give to young performers today?
Well, as a heel, you got to sell at the right time. You got to learn to beg, get on your knees and beg. I can't imagine anybody doing that today. Nobody wants to get on their knees and beg. Are you kidding me? They'd probably rather die than do that.
Why do you think that is?
Because they're full of shit. Because they got their head up their ass. It's just, I don't know, man. They're believing in the press too much, I think.
It's a weird perspective because, as a heel, it's if you're begging or you're begging off, that just makes you more of a coward and thereby more unlikable.
Nobody wants to be a coward.
Right.
They don't. They all want to be the toughest motherfucker. Well, there can only be one tough guy. One. And it's not them.
That's it, man. And then, I know that people are probably really concerned that, like, okay, if I beg, it's going to make my character weak, and that's this irreparable situation. It's
that's so foolish.
I feel like, and I think I've seen matches where you do this, where you're begging off, the guy like turns to the referee or something, you immediately stop begging and attack him.
Oh, yeah.
And so all of a sudden it's like, okay, he wasn't, he was just trying to stall this guy. He's not a coward.
That's right.
I don't
exactly
know.
What you do, man.
It's
beg
weird.
And you plead and you promise, you lie, you try it all, man. Please, I'll never do that again. I swear to God, I'll never do that again. Oh, I think I'm having a heart attack. Oh, I'm having chest pains. Oh, chest pains. Oh, not good. Oh, somebody call a vet.
Man, it's interesting the way that the business has changed and kind of how like some of this, logic, and that's really what it boils down to is simple logic in many respects.
Yeah.
Some of it's just kind of lost.
Yeah, it is. It really is. It's a shame.
It is. But I just thought it was really cool hearing about you on this house show, giving the finger to the fans. I mean, this is years before Austin would make his name being an anti-hero. And now here you are doing it. And it's even more fascinating because of the way that you and your career would influence Steve Austin's. Did you see the business beginning to trend in the direction of anti-heroes at this time?
Oh, yeah. Yeah. It was sliding that way. Definitely. People were tired of just the regular old, white hat baby face that would, come in on a white stallion and always do the right thing. Because the bottom line is that people have been beat down so bad, whether it's taxes or just lack of work or whatever, they didn't think a good guy could win,
Mm-hmm.
And the bad guys just kept getting bigger and tougher and crazier. And, more monstrous. Christ, what are you going to do? You can't go in there and not throw a punch or not. You gotta start unloading some of this shit. So that's kind of the way I went.
And yes, and I find it interesting seeing you as a babyface too, watching back some of this old stuff, because to your point, you weren't really a babyface. It's you're saying the right stuff to the audience, and
No.
you're kind of being a good guy, but at the same time, you're DDTing somebody. It's like this punishing, vicious move that you're breaking out at the end to win the match,
Yeah.
and then afterwards, after you punish
Putting a
somebody,
snake on them.
yes, then you're putting the snake on people.
Yeah, that's what a babyface does.
So it wasn't enough for you to get the win, not enough for you to probably concuss this guy or whatever,
Yeah.
if this is a shoot. Now all of a sudden you're humiliating him. It was just, you can see why it worked. People wanted, Hulk Hogan was coming out there with his American flag and his over-the-top music, and he's flexing his guns at the end of every match, and you were just something completely different, something people hadn't seen. So it was just really neat to see it.
Yeah, well, thank you. I can't wait to see this next clip.
Yes, coming right up here in a few minutes. Before we get there, though, it is notable here that you'd beat Earthquake clean with a DDT in a cage match on 2/27 in Portland, and on March 1st, you'd be pinned by him in Providence. This would, of course, be your next big rivalry in the WWF, and I can't wait to talk about it in long form with you at some point. But for right now, Martel is a completely different performer from Earthquake. So what did you think about this move from, as you said, a Mercedes to, I don't know, like a cement mixer?
Cement mixer. He wasn't a cement mixer, man. He was just he was a I just forgot the damn name of it. Oh well, I forget it. No, he was a smooth ride too. He knew what he was doing out there, thank God, because he was a very powerful man, and he could move when he wanted to. But, Earthquake was he was a pleasure to work with too.
And it's of note, he's still, he's got the bald head, and he's this big hairy dude. And I think that a lot of dudes saw him and are like, oh man, this guy's in like his late 30s, early 40s. I think at this time he was like mid 20s, maybe early 30s, something like that. So he's still a young guy.
He wasn't old man. He was young.
Yeah, still a young man, and he had a history in sumo, so he's a great athlete, and kind of certainly an iconic angle. It's something that's going to be a lot of fun.
He was a badass, man. Put it simply, he was a badass.
Now, did you ever see him kind of have to show somebody?
Oh yeah, I did. I watched him and Haku.
Okay, we have got to hear that story, Jake.
We were in Edmonton, Alberta, and it had been one of those days where the airplanes got delayed 4 or 5 hours and had to take 3 flights to get there, and half the crew was drunk. They'd been sitting in hotel bars too long. And we all got there, and Haku decides he wants to challenge fucking Earthquake to a sumo match.
Oh, no.
So they broke it down and had a sumo match in the locker room with all the slapping and punching and shit. And fucking Earthquake held his own. And he didn't get shoved around. So
wow.
The fact that he didn't get shoved around tells me I don't want to fuck with him.
Against a bad dude like Haku?
Yeah, buddy.
Holy smokes, that's pretty impressive.
Everybody was running when it was going on. They started, fuck this, man. Somebody's gonna get hurt. I don't want it to be me.
Yeah, it's like the Tasmanian devil and his tornado. You don't want to get too close to that shit.
You don't want to get too close. You get sucked into it, man. It'll tear you apart. That's exactly the way it was too. Fucking guys were running.
God almighty. 2 big guys like that. I mean, it's lucky that somebody did not get really badly injured with those two guys.
Yeah, it is. But they just had some fun.
That's awesome. And holy smokes, you want to talk about something that people would pay great money to see happen nowadays. It'd be nice if you had taken video of that.
Oh, yeah. Think about that.
Make a damn fortune. All right, Jake, we're here. It's WrestleMania 7 and one of your most iconic matches. Let's check out the final minutes of it.
All right.
Referee laying the count on him. I don't think he can hear it. In fact, I'm sure he can. Big deal. The referee can't count. They're even. Oh, Jake getting one of these. Found him himself back in the ring, and Martel swung that steel chair into the steel post. Oh, look at this. Boy, that was close. Martel with a backbreaker.
Now, once he gets his hands on him, he can take the hood off, right?
He's going for that Boston Crab. No, you can't take the hood off.
Now he can, right?
He's got it. He turned him over. And Jake the Snake powered his way out of that one. I thought it was over right there.
Well, I've never seen matches like these. This is the greatest array of matches I've ever seen.
Both men back to back. Oh, Jake Cornette. DDT got him.
But can he find him to cover him? See, he can't find him.
All he's got to do is reach around. There he is.
Oh, no.
Man, how great was Martel and all that? The selling when he hits the post with the chair and he sells, it hurt his hands. God Almighty, he's great.
Great shit, man.
Excellent match. I love it. Certainly stands out for me in my childhood, and I know a lot of people, our listeners, feel the same way. The audience participation aspect of it, where you kind of do this point around the ring.
Yeah, that was awesome.
Yeah, you hear the reaction from the crowd. Is that your idea?
No, man. People showed me that.
Really?
Oh yeah.
So what, you like tried on the house show and
I tried on the house shows and the people showed me. No, this way. And they said, this way. I'd point that way. They go, no, the other way. Oh, over here. Oh, because I just started out just pointing. And then I started putting my arm out there and then just moving it, which is the best way.
Yes. It was tremendous. I always love that aspect of it too. And it makes the audience feel like they're part of this match.
Yeah, it did. It really did. I know I've had a lot of people tell me, it shows and stuff. Man, that match, man, I screamed so hard for you. I said, where were you at? I was in Illinois. Well, hell, I couldn't hear you from fucking Illinois. Give me a break.
Yeah, and if you I'll share that one on our social media as well. If you see the audience, like when Jake is trying to find him in the ring again at the end after he DDTs him, like the people are jumping up and down out in the audience.
Oh yeah.
It's you can't ask for more in a performance, and then what do you want when you go out there? You want a reaction, good reaction, bad reaction. You just if the place is quiet, you messed up.
Yeah, absolutely, man. If it's quiet, you really fucked up.
Right.
You'd be looking for another job.
Right. And it was anything but quiet. Meltzer said that given the limitations of having to pretend not to be able to see, you both had great performances, but said it was dull as a wrestling match. It's what a silly perspective in my mind. It's absurd. This is about creating emotion in the audience and the slow anticipation of finally getting even with Martel, right?
Absolutely, man. Meltzer has a problem.
Yeah, I find myself agreeing with some of the stuff he says, but then, I'll read something like that and I'm like, what the fuck is he talking about?
Yeah, well, he does a fairly good job, but he don't do the best job.
Well, Peter D on Twitter asked the question, and I think it's a good time to ask it. How was your breathing affected with the hood?
It was affected.
Yeah?
Yeah, you could definitely tell a difference, man. No, I wouldn't want to run with a hood on, I'll tell you that.
Yeah, and you hear all the time that no amount of cardio, like the stair stepper or the elliptical or whatever, can prepare you for a wrestling match. And now here you are with a hood on.
With a hood on, man. Yeah.
Man, that is a whole new challenge.
Yeah, it was. But it was a lot of fun, and I wouldn't give anything for that memory.
How was your vision with the blindfold?
You could see pretty good.
But still, inhibited breathing, inhibited vision.
Yeah.
It's asking a lot.
It made the job a little tougher.
I can absolutely see that. What was the reaction backstage like following the match? Did Vince and everyone seem satisfied with it?
Oh yeah, they were fucking happy and shit about it. A lot of the guys were like, "Are you fucking kidding me? You're getting paid?"
Oh jeez, try putting on the hood, bud.
Yeah, really.
Yeah, try going out there wrestling with that thing on.
That's when I think I told them, it's Shakespeare, baby. It's Shakespeare.
That's it too.
It is, man.
It's
Shakespeare.
Theater in the round.
Yeah, man. I call it the theater of the absurd.
It's even better, and,
Yeah.
and certainly more suiting for some of the stuff that was happening around that time.
Yeah, it was, man.
Well, Jake, we're at the finish line here. I'm going to do a couple fan questions, but really, I think we
All
should
right.
put a pin in this thing
Yeah, I agree.
with this question. What were your final overall thoughts on the rivalry and how it came to a climax with the blindfold match?
I enjoyed my time with Rick Martel, regardless of what we were doing. He was a real class act. Him and Steamboat are right there side by side. As far as I'm concerned.
Now, would you rank those two as your top two opponents in ring?
Yeah, in smoothness and everything, yeah.
I mean, you can't do much better for those two.
Yeah, those guys were really smooth. Now, I've had some angles that work better. I've had some that, I got more out of it, whether it be, me and Savage or me and Earthquake or me and Bad News even. But, yeah, both those guys are just so smooth. God, it's a pleasure to wrestle them.
Great getting to watch this stuff back with you. Let's get a couple fan questions and then we'll call it quits here. Scott Stessel asks, do you think the style of match could have worked with another opponent? If so, who? Any other heel on the roster that you think could have hung in there with you?
Oh, yeah. I think anybody could have done it.
But what about...
But not as good.
I was going to say, to the degree of effectiveness that Martel did?
No. He was the perfect guy for it.
And if you don't believe it, check out that clip whenever I post on social media. Just the way that Martel sells everything and like his big reactions. It's like, man, as somebody like him in a blindfold, it's perfect. It just works.
Yeah, it does.
Bobby Hoskins asks, this may have been answered somewhere else, but what was really in Martel's spray bottle?
Probably piss. Knowing some of the guys that I know, it was probably piss. No, I don't know what it was. It was water or something.
That question kind of made me laugh because I'm like, it's got to be water. What else would they be spraying you in the face with?
Yeah. What else?
Well, there were some wild ribs around that time.
Yeah, there was.
All right, last question. John Oliver asks, why do you think WWE hasn't put Rick Martel in their Hall of Fame yet?
I have no idea, man. That's just a crying shame. Probably because he wouldn't come down to do it.
I hope that's it. I when I saw that question, I was like, he's in the Hall of Fame, and I went and looked it up, and no, he's not. Which is shocking, absurd. I hope that he gets that honor, not just for him, but there's still fans that love him and miss seeing him around.
Absolutely.